All right, welcome to day 2 of our 4-day week. Today we're going to be covering the second page of our final project, which is an automobile purchase. So what you can do is get out your Chromebook right off the bat, open it up, get into Google Classroom. If you were not here yesterday, I'll give you kind of an abbreviated summary of what we did as you're getting things rocking and rolling on this, so that way you're kind of caught up to date. But if you want the full details of the step-by-step walkthrough of what we talked about yesterday, because it was on Zoom for anybody that is a remote learner, it is recorded. It is on YouTube. And the link is posted in the instructions in the Google Classroom assignment for the automobile purchase project. Okay, it's not actually linked where you can click it to go to the YouTube video, just because I've got 1.5 billion other links on there and Google won't let me add anymore. So I just had to paste the URL in the instructions, but it'll be at the bottom of the instructions. It'll say, I forget exactly. I mean, I could probably read it verbatim, but it's about 38 minutes long of me not only talking about the front page and kind of getting started on this project, but it also gives specific instructions on grading and what that is starting to look like for the end of the school year. Spoiler alert, there's some interesting changes happening to the grade book that I'm not happy with. So I'm going to have to go in and manually change a bunch of stuff. So if you go into Skyward right now, you may notice that you're earning a grade that may or may not be a good thing, but things will change. Watch the video for more details. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. Just because I spent like probably 20 minutes yesterday going through and talking about a bunch of stuff. Just so that way it's very crystal clear on what's happening, okay? So if you have any questions about specifics with grading, shoot me an email or talk to me later in class when we have some free time. All right, to jump in today, so that way we can give you guys plenty of time to work on this in class. So the first page, which I said we started covering yesterday, I kind of did a generic overview of the whole assignment yesterday. But we really kind of focused in on the first page, which is essentially going to end up being selecting a vehicle that you are interested in potentially purchasing. Now, this is all fake, right? So it's not like you're actually going to purchase it, and I'm not actually going to give you the money to go do it, but we're just going to pretend. Because again, most people do not go through the process of purchasing an automobile from start to finish. They just say, oh, I'm just going to go out and buy a car and that'll be it. It's not like going out to the store and buying groceries. There's a lot more involved, a lot more stuff that you're going to want to investigate prior to spending that amount of money, okay? The biggest thing to keep in mind is for most people, an automobile purchase is going to end up being probably the second largest purchase in your lifetime. Besides your house. House is number one, without a doubt, okay? Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that because some people have some really big, expensive boats in comparison to their cars, but I can't really think of a whole lot of other things other than a house or land that would end up surpassing the price of a vehicle. So that's why we want to spend a little bit of time here at the end of the school year to educate yourself on a couple things. Again, I'll reiterate this just for the people that weren't here, but the websites that are listed on this sheet are the only websites that you can use to search for a car. You can't use Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay Motors, or any other type of auction website or in-person auction. So even if I go to cars.com and I found a great deal on a car, but it's being sold by an auction, can't use that as a purchase, okay? Your budget for this vehicle is $10,000 total, and that's including everything about the purchase, not just the price of the car. That includes insurance, cost of operation, taxes, titles, and other fees that you have to end up paying. So anyways, we kind of covered all this stuff, Kelley Blue Book, the TSBs and recalls, and your IIHS safety rating. Yeah, and you have to be within 75 miles, yes. All those are in the written instructions, but I just want to make sure that we are 100% knowing exactly what's going to be happening. Okay, so today we're going to be walking through the second page, which the second page is going to be more about the fine print, quote unquote, all the small fees and prices that are associated with automobile purchases that most people don't necessarily really consider in their budget when they're going to purchase a vehicle. Okay, and they say, oh yeah, I got $10,000 I can afford. I'm going to buy a $9,990 vehicle. That's great until you realize that X amount of dollars is going to go for insurance and gas and maintenance. It adds up really quick. So again, this is all part of educating you on how to budget and how to make your dollars fit within your budget. Okay, so figure out taxes, titles, and fees from the state of Wisconsin, because the government's got to get its money from the sale of the vehicles. Now, this is linked inside the Google Classroom, but there is an official paperwork that you would fill out when you go to the DMV to register your newly purchased vehicle. And this is it. This is exactly what they would hand you. I just want an electronic version so that way at least you can see it. Now, I'm not going to have you fill out this exact form, but I made it available for you to view because if you have any questions, this is the document that you are going to reference to in regards to figuring out answers to your questions. But really, because it's a 4-page document, the first 2 pages is more or less definitions or information to let you know about stuff that is going to be on the second and third page. Section E here is basically what I copied and put in on our assignment that you have to fill out. So you're going to essentially be filling out section E, but you'll be filling it out on this form here. Okay, and again, if it's got a blank spot for you to fill in, you just double click on it, and you can type in a dollar amount. So when we go through this. So the most common stuff, let me see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in? Oh yeah, down here. Okay, let's zoom in slightly just to fill up the page. No, okay. Okay, the title fee for the state of Wisconsin is $164.50. So we're going to start with that. Okay, $164.50. You are then going to obviously need to write down the purchase price of your vehicle. So after you find a vehicle that you are planning on buying for this assignment, you are going to write down the price that is listed. Keeping in mind that, again, for this particular assignment, there's not going to be any quote-unquote negotiation between you and the seller because we're just going to presume they listed it and that's what you're going to buy it for. But in real life, there could be some changes there. Okay. I don't know if I actually included this section in the my sheet, but you'd write down the purchase price, the trade-in allowance, basically what you traded in to get the new stuff. We're going to presume you're not trading in anything. You're starting out fresh from brand new. And then the amount of subject to tax. So you would typically take this amount minus this amount, and then that would be the amount subject to a tax. But because we don't have a trade-in value, we're just going to use your full purchase price to figure out all of the taxes. So there is a state sales tax. The state sales tax is your total multiplied by 0.05 because it's a 5% sales tax. So you take your amount, multiply it by 0.05, and that dollar amount goes here then. You then have a local sales tax. Here's the fun part about figuring out local sales tax. It changes based off of where you're at or where you live. So in this case, it doesn't give you a formula for this, like the state sales tax. Instead, it says see instructions. Well, where are those instructions? Again, this is why we don't necessarily trust the government because they're very inefficient and kind of confusing. It doesn't tell you where the instructions are. Yeah. I'm trying to be polite. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to the first page, and that's where it actually says the instructions. It says local sales tax. Determine which county the vehicle will be kept in and multiply the amount subject to tax by the tax rate, if any, for that county. And then it gives you a website, which is conveniently already pulled up here. So you, and this website is also linked inside of Google Classroom. It's basically Wisconsin Department of Revenue, and it's going to tell you what the local state tax or local taxes are. So what you would end up doing is punching in today's date, punching in the zip code, and then you're also going to be punching in +4, which there's the fancy thing with the U.S. Postal Services, specifically identifying your house has an additional 4 digits after your zip code. If you don't know what your additional 4 is, you can just go here to the United States Postal Service. And then essentially you're going to find your address. So in this case, I'm just going to use the school's address as an example, but feel free to use your actual house. So I got to sit down here for a moment because that's where my keyboard is. Let's see here. So it's 801 North Campus Drive. So there's no apartments here. And that's going to end up being in Fond du Lac. I don't know. Well, it's the United States Postal Service, so it's probably asking me why. All right, we got Wisconsin. And then obviously the zip code is 54935. And then I'll hit find. And then here, the last 4 for the high school is 1600. Okay, so I'll come back in here and type in 1600. And I'll hit submit. And then what's going to happen is it's going to pop up. Okay, so we got a 5% sales tax for the state, which we already knew about because it already listed that for, where is this now? For right here where it says state tax, right? We're already figuring out 5%. But in Fond du Lac, the county has a 0.5% sales tax. So the total is going to be 5.5%, which in all honesty is going to end up being pretty standard. Right, Dakota?
Sure.
So what you'll end up doing then is essentially taking your total amount that you owe and now multiplying instead of by 0.005, you'd multiply that by 0.005 and write down that amount there for the local local sales tax. Your loan filing fee, yes, there is a fee if you use a loan, which is always exciting, right? Fees upon fees upon fees, and that's going to be $10. For this particular exercise, we are going to presume that you are going to need a loan. But again, we'll talk more about why you don't want to do that later on. But sometimes it's difficult to whip out $10,000 out of your bank account if you're fresh out of high school, okay? Not impossible, it's just, it's more likely that you are not going to have that cash available. So that's why we're presuming you're going to go do a loan. So it's going to be $10. License plate fee. So here's a couple options. In a typical passenger vehicle, right, if you got a car or something similar, it's going to be $85. If you were picking up a truck, all right, now this is where it gets interesting because it depends on your gross weight. Okay, and again, this is going to require more calculations because you can come down here, or excuse me, come up here, and there's a whole chart on what type of license your truck is going to get, and that license is going to be indicative of how much weight you can haul. Okay, I would say most trucks are probably going to be in a B license, would be my guess. Down here it says that for 4,500 pounds or 6,000 pounds, which is your gross weight, it's going to probably be about $100, which again, that's probably most trucks that you're going to end up purchasing. You're looking at like an F450 dually, you know, maybe that's got a $8,000 or 8,000 pound gross weight. That's 106. So that kind of helps you out. Okay, if you have other license plate types, that's where you would check off on here. And what is an other license plate? Again, you would scroll down here to section F, license plate types, and now it gives you a bunch of different ones. For this particular exercise, I'm fairly confident that we're not going to have you purchase anything for recreation, motorcycle, farm, truck and tractor, trailer, buses, government plates, special use, or special plates. Okay, so we're just going to stick to the standard. Either you have a passenger car or a passenger vehicle, and that's going to be most cars, vans, probably SUVs. Okay, light trucks, we're probably looking at about $100 roughly. Okay, again, that depends on what kind. Then you got miscellaneous fees. This is where they really needle you to death. Okay, so there's an annual electric or hybrid vehicle surcharge. So if you have an electric vehicle that you're purchasing or a hybrid vehicle, they're going to give you a fee on top of that that you have to pay every year. And the reason for it is because you're not using as much gasoline, and gasoline is taxed. They're going to get their money somehow. Okay, it's still better and probably cheaper than actually spending on your gas bill for vehicles, but it's just another fee on top of things again. And the reason why they're collecting all these fees is quote unquote, okay, this is not necessarily me, so that way they can fix roads, which is always entertaining, right? So up here, I believe it actually talks to you about your electric car or hybrid car. Where is it? Miscellaneous. Okay, so here's your electric or hybrid surcharges and wheel tax. And it walks you through this, right? It says kept in a municipality or county that requires a wheel tax. If you have a wheel tax, you click on this website here. Let's find out if Fond du Lac has a wheel tax, or at least this Fond du Lac city of Fond du Lac. I don't think they do either, but is there a way to search it? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so current wheel tax jurisdictions, no Fs. So we're going to presume that, oh, Lemaire's got one? Weird. Yeah, and they're getting solar panels. Yeah, they're getting something already. Yeah, I don't want to get into that. But there's no Fond du Lac County either. So I'm going to presume most people live in Fond du Lac County or the city of Fond du Lac or something close. So there's no wheel tax on top of that. So that's good news. Electric vehicles, you got a $100 annual surcharge on top of your license registration. Hybrid vehicles, 70, yeah, $75 for annual surcharge for hybrid vehicles. Okay, so that's always fun. All right, sorry for that quick interruption, folks. Yeah, Chia walked in and was asking me some questions. Okay, so let's get back into here. So there's no wheel tax. Congratulations. Motor carrier class fee from section F. Again, that's not something that we really have to worry about because we already paid our fee for $85. Right? License plate types? Yeah, that's our license plate fee. Temporary plate fee. That they're going to charge you $3 to get a temporary plate. Okay, and guess what? If you're not transferring plates, and we're not transferring plates because we don't have a vehicle that I'm going to have you guys use to buy your new car, we're going to presume you're starting with nothing. So yes, you're going to have to pay a $3 temporary plate fee until you get your normal plates in the mail. And here's my favorite one of all time. Counter service fee. If you physically go to a DMV and fill this form out and hand it in, you have to pay an extra $5. Okay, but here's the kicker. If you do it online, you have to pay a fee for using a credit card online. They're getting you one way or another. They get you coming and going. I have no idea. Anyways, once you figure out all this information, you're typing it in as you're going. Again, we've got our check marks here. So what ends up happening is, depending on what vehicle you have. So if I have a passenger vehicle, I'll come in here and select the check marks on the ones I'm not going to use, and I'll just hit delete, remaining the one that's check marked. I know, right? Super fancy. I'm going to undo that because reasons. So anyways, once you add up all your fees and taxes, you'll type in the total amount down here, and it should be red. Okay. Yes. What's the processing fee? Let's see here. Let's go up here. It talks about that. So processing fee. If an application is solely to add a loan and the security party is not filing electronically, add $5 for DMV processing. Non-exempt secured parties must pay an additional $20 surcharge that may not be charged to the customer. So $5, yep. So $5, you got to pay the person who's going to process it, basically put it in a file for you. And so in other words, you're paying. You think that with how much we give like money to DMVs that they would be like. No. If there's an opportunity to take more money, guess what? They don't like their job. Yeah, this is why we want. Yes. Anyways. Okay, so that's processing your fees, taxes, registration, all that stuff. That's probably going to take you the most amount of time, is just figuring out those numbers. Next, we're going to go to figure out identifying your monthly payments, because we have to figure out your fee total before figuring out this. And we're going to base it off of no cash down, fair credit, 36 months, 5.9% interest loan. So again, we're going to come in here. We're going to go to this particular website, and again, you're just going to punch in 54935. You'll punch in the cost of your vehicle. Again, that's based off of what you have. I'm just going to put down 10,000. Sales tax rate is 5.5%. Title registration, again, that would be based off of what you calculated out. I'm just going to put down $200. I'm just throwing out numbers as examples. Cash incentives, that's 0 because we don't have any cash incentives, and we have no trade-in value. We have no cash down payment, which is always a bad idea, by the way. You always want to have some kind of cash down. And here's your loan term, 36 months. We're going to talk more about why this is important. Because if you go to a dealership, they're going to say, oh, you want that $40,000 car? Let's put you in like an 82-month loan. Okay? That's basically like sawing off your foot. Never, ever, ever get a loan that is longer than 36 months. Okay? If you have to get a longer term loan than 36 months just to make the monthly payment, you can't afford the car. I'll be straight up with you. Okay? 36 months is 3 years. Okay, that's a long time. So as it is, this is why you always have some kind of cash down payment to kind of help get that down even more. All right, interest rate, we're looking at 5.9%. Ooh, hi there. Okay, so we'll just punch in 5. I'm just going to leave it at 5.4. And because you're out of high school, we're going to say you have fair credit. Again, you could have good credit, you could have excellent credit, you could have poor credit. We're using this as an example just to kind of figure things out. You hit calculate. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it calculated this already for me. So I would say, all right, my estimated monthly payment, $327 per month. So I would again come back in here, type in 327 in that case. And you might say, oh man, that's kind of cool. I can totally afford that. Don't worry about see what your budget is, see how that works out. But
Yeah, you just might not be able to.
yeah, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Yeah. So we'll talk more about financial side of things and why it's always a good idea to pay cash if possible. And we never ever lease a car. We never lease a car. We never lease a car. Okay, do not lease a car. It's wasting your money. Do not lease a car.
Unless it's a hybrid.
All right. I'm just listen. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just simply saying from experience. I've never leased a car before, but if you actually go in and dig around in terms of what's actually happening when you're leasing a car, it's not pretty in terms of it's not to the benefit of you. I'll just put it that way. It's to the benefit of the dealership because the dealership is not going to lose money. I would just say that right now. They're going to make sure that they make out with a profit. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. Okay, identify the average insurance rates. So again, we're going to come up here to this particular website. This is actually pretty straightforward. You put your make, model, year in the state, and it kind of gives you a generic idea for your vehicle. So I'm just going to pick something random here. Obviously, we're in the state of Wisconsin. That it will not be random. A vehicle, let's say it's a Honda Civic S. Okay, I'll hit submit. Then typically it just shoots you back here. Okay, here's the car. Liability coverage is going to be $434. We are going to, the PC is asking for what's the cost for full coverage. Okay, not liability, but full coverage. We're looking at about $1,197. Don't hit get quotes because that will actually take you to various different insurance websites. And if you put in their in your information, you will get phone calls and emails from them. Okay, so don't do that. We're just looking for a generic average based off of the result of the vehicle and the state. Now, again, this number could potentially go up because your age, and they're going to factor in driving history, your grades, all sorts of stuff that you might not think is very fair, but they're trying to figure out what their liability is going to end up being because they're going to do a risk assessment. Boy, is this person going to end up crashing the car? Is it going to end up costing us money? Well, if you have a more likely chance of that happening, they're going to charge you more money because that's kind of how it rolls. If you're a student that has great grades, no accident history, no speeding tickets, and you're driving a pretty reasonable vehicle that's not like super hopped up, you probably pay lower interest rates because the likelihood of you crashing or causing an accident is the risk is much lower. So that all that stuff is based off of that information. So it's good incentive to drive good. Weird how that works. So then you put in your insurance rates for full coverage, and then finally you'd come in here and you would find out your operational costs. You'd go into Rock Auto here. You'd find your make, model, and vehicle of the car, and you would end up looking up, hey, how much oil does my car need? So how much do I need to purchase? So if my vehicle needs 5.3 quarts, I would probably have to end up buying 6 quarts. What's the cost of 6 quarts? Okay, you take that, and then you also have to buy a filter. So then you add that total up, and then you put it there, right? So you say, oh, maybe it's like $70. So, okay, cool, I got $70. For gas, you have to figure out what your vehicle's miles per gallon is for the city. Okay, so let's say I have 20 miles per, no, we're gonna make this really simple. We're gonna make this super simple. Let's say I get 10 miles per gallon for the city, which is absolutely horrible, by the way. Okay.
What do you mean?
I don't even get 10.
So let's say I get 10 miles per gallon in the city. I travel 250 miles in the city in a month. So now I'm getting 25 gallons of gas. Cool, 25 gallons there. Now let's say I get 1,000 miles on the highway, and guess what? Let's say I get 100 miles per gallon on the highway. Again, easy math, which is phenomenal, by the way. There's no vehicle out there that gets 100 miles per gallon. But let's just say, well, unless you're like electric, because technically speaking, you don't do MPGs. So you have 100 miles per gallon. I travel 1,000 miles in 1 month on the highway. So now I'm using 100 gallons of gas there. So I use 25 gallons in the city, 100 gallons in the highway. So I'm using 125 gallons total of gas. What's the price of gas? Okay. You're going to have to look up what the current price of gas is. I think it's like 250, 270, somewhere in that range, probably 280. There's a huge jump, right? But then you're going to take the total amount of gas you use in a month and multiply it by whatever the price of gas is currently. Now, obviously, you wouldn't buy 250 gallons of gas all in the same sitting, right? It would probably be stretched out over the month. So there's probably going to be some fluctuation in that. But again, for this particular exercise, just to keep the math simple, you got the big tank in the back. You're in North Carolina. Yeah. So anyways, you'll go through this. And again, if your vehicle has more than 200,000 miles, you're also adding on top of that the cost of a serpentine belt tensioner and idler pulleys. Car wash is pretty generic. Well, I want you to actually price out something locally where you can go get your car washed. I know for sure Quick Trip has like a $10 or $11 one. That's pretty good. But if you want to go ultra cheap, by all means, you have the ability to do that. Okay. Give me a total for the cost of operation. And again, anything that's in red, you were finally adding all together and putting it down here at the bottom in section 9. Whatever this total is, it cannot exceed $10,000. Yeah, basically. So that's why you want to make sure that when you are looking for a vehicle, you're looking probably no more than $8,000 maybe would probably be a good starting point, or less than that would probably get you in the ballpark.
Is the loan payment supposed to be included?
The loan payment is not included in the total. I just want you to see. Yeah. Oh, okay. Hey, I got a $8,000 car, but I got all these fees and stuff. I wrap it up into a loan. How much would you potentially be paying per month over the course of 3 years for that? Again, it's just to kind of see things, because
like when we get to that bottom number, the total number, that's what we put in for our loan mode?
No. Well, anything that's in red. So for instance, if you come up here, when you're filling this out, really? There we go. When you fill this out, you'll type in like price here. See how that's a red number?
Yeah.
So I did that on purpose, because anything that ends up in red,
Yeah.
like here, this number is going to be in red. Anything that's in red, you add together to get number 9's total.
Okay.
Now, obviously, in your loan total, you're not going to include the price of maintenance. That's going to have to something that's going to come out of your pocket regardless. And your insurance is not going to be included in your loan payments. So that's why I try to help color things in red. I just wanted you to see this, to say, oh yeah, it's only $327 per month. Oh, by the way, I still have to pay insurance and gas on top of that. So it doesn't always tell the true story of what you may be able to afford. Okay, so that's essentially this assignment. That was the back page, what I wanted to cover today. I know it was a lot of talking on my end. You're only going to have 10 minutes here to work on it, but there'll be less talking tomorrow and Friday on this. And by the way, this is due Friday at midnight. And the requirement is simply to have this sheet completely filled out, along with going to the website where you are going to plan on finding your vehicle or purchasing the vehicle, and saving that as a PDF and including that, or upload that PDF to the assignment. So those are the 2 things you have to turn in for this assignment. And again, if you want more specific details, you were not here yesterday, feel free to watch that video from yesterday, and I go into greater detail about how to do those things. All right, obviously, if you are watching this at a later time and or live on Zoom, if you have any questions, I'll be around. But I'm gonna mute myself now. All right, we're gonna redo this. All right, we'll see you all tomorrow.